Let's start with Robert Samuelson is a fairly conservative columnist for the Washington Post and Newsweek, and he says, as a column in the recent issue of Newsweek that says, employment goes up and down each year. In the long run, quote, almost all job growth comes from new businesses. It's not whether it's big or small, it's new or old. On balance, job creation and destruction for existing companies zeroes out. Job growth comes from new companies. Jack Stewart, do you agree with that?
I think that's probably right. That's the large companies are actually shrinking in total employment right now. But yeah, I just heard a story the other day from a company, Blue Fire, which is an alternative energy. They make ethanol. They tried for 2 years to put an ethanol plant in Lancaster, which they were going to use solid waste biomass from the landfill to produce ethanol. Spent $9 million. Spent 2 years trying to get a permit in California, could not do it, could not make the numbers work. Now have set up a plant, or getting ready to break ground on a plant, the same plant in Mississippi, 5 times the production, took them 9 months to get the permit, and they will have 5 times the production out of that plant at $3 million versus the $9 million they already spent in California. We have to make it easier for companies to invest here. Right now, companies cannot find the economy of investing in manufacturing and producing in California.
Raj Atler, you invest a lot of startups. The money comes into California. Is it going to go back out to other states when it comes to building a factory?
If the policies and the regulatory environment is not supportive of these companies building their first plant, building their manufacturing plants in California, they'll move elsewhere. That's the way it works in every industry. And so that's not different. I think the key for us is, where do you find the most innovative scientists, researchers, entrepreneurs, leaders? In California is the innovation economy. That's why people come here. And so we don't want to move our companies elsewhere. We'd love them to be here, local to capital, local to the best state for their products. Look, some manufacturing jobs will go overseas, but some will stay here. Our companies hire tons of technicians, tons of manufacturing labor. We hire lots of construction workers, which we don't talk about because it's a little bit different than Jack cares about. But construction and trade job creation in the clean tech economy is enormous. And that's 40% of the 2.2 million jobs in green jobs in the United States are in that area. Those are high-paying, high-quality jobs. And so, we try to have our companies localize their manufacturing here because we like them close to the management team, and the management teams are here in California.
If I could just chime in here quickly. Certainly you can point to instances where a company, for whatever reason, tried to locate in California and it didn't work out. On the other hand, we're seeing new solar development currently either in process or recently permitted that is happening right here in California. And these are the kind of blue collar jobs that we're talking about. These are people who are working to both build and maintain and operate these plants. The same thing with the NUMMI facility down the road here. So I think the suggestion that it's solely the VC money and the manufacturing and the sort of the middle class jobs are going elsewhere is not necessarily true.
No, and innovation is critical. And when companies like Chevron do the innovation, that's the way it should happen. What's happening is we're seeing too much, from my perspective, and I agree with Cathy. I think we all see a clean energy future, a non-carbon future. The question is when do we get there, and how fast do we get there, and at what cost? And if the California taxpayers and the California both business and individual taxpayers and ratepayers are going to help support the investments in these industries, then I think we need to have a clearer understanding of exactly what that's going to mean. Because when you take money, either tax money, ratepayer money, fee money from one group of employers and say, we're going to give this to another group of employers to innovate new products, then it's not going to be a very big surprise that those people you're taking the money from are going to be cutting jobs, and those people that are getting the money are going to be creating jobs. So how do we make this work without disrupting the economy as we know it now? Because we've lost 634,000 manufacturing jobs in this state over the last decade. That's 34% of our industrial workforce has disappeared. Now the question is, my opinion, it's going to be very, very difficult to ever bring that industrial workforce back. But that is the middle class of California. That's where middle class jobs are created, when you create wealth and then you share that wealth with the workers you have. And the question is can we sustain that model in California, or are we getting so far out of reach of that model that we're going to see a service economy here? And I think the evidence on a service economy is that the jobs are going to be a lot lower paying jobs than we have in the industrial economy.
Is that a fair characterization, Roz?
I don't think it's a fair characterization. I think if you're in the energy economy here, you are, in some form or another, getting benefits from the government. Traditional energy companies have received $72 billion, and rightfully so, mostly in the form of tax credits from 2002 to 2008. And the renewable energy companies have received close to $29 billion, $17 billion of which was in ethanol. So there's only $12 billion in things that you think about as renewable energy, meaning solar, wind, and some energy efficiency technology. So it pales in comparison to the subsidization of traditional energy. And we're doing both for the right reasons. Some for security, some for finding new sources of oil, natural gas, and coal, or oil, natural gas, not coal. And for renewables, we're just scratching the surface relative to traditional energy. So I don't think it's a fair characterization. I think we've got a policy framework in place to put goals in place for companies to excel, to exceed too. And that's what we're trying to do here with the companies we're investing in.
One of the unifying policies that California continues to pursue is to have the most aggressive investments in energy efficiency in the country, in both existing and new businesses. My favorite part of Chevron is Chevron Energy Solutions, which is one of the nation's leading energy efficiency companies. And its example is illustrative of a whole economy full of similar examples of getting more work out of less energy. That is as potent a job creation strategy as I know of. And Cathy and Jack, because of your support, in part, we're better at that than anybody else. And let's not lose sight of it.
Let's touch on cap and trade. We haven't really touched on cap and trade yet. It's one of the key policies, potentially nationally and regionally. Cathy Reheis-Boyd, do you think cap and trade will happen here in the western United States with California at the lead?
It'll happen in California in December, because that's when they're going to adopt it. We are working very hard on a design that we think will work for our companies, and we're talking to the Air Resources Board about that. I think even cement and every other utilities are trying to design a system that can work for them. We're a lot farther along on cap and trade than we are on the low carbon fuel standard. So I think we can design a program that works. I think it's important that we have one for several reasons. One in particular, EPA has, the Environmental Protection Agency, on the federal side, has regulations that are going to be imposed on states, and if those states cannot demonstrate that they have a program, like a cap and trade program, to push back on that, we'll be forced into much more of a command and control prescriptive direction. So there's lots of reasons why this cap and trade piece has to work well.